All right, hello everybody. Welcome back. Making a new guide here. I actually was not originally planning to make this guide at all, but I actually ended up finishing the whole season challenges. I got 33 out of 38, so that's the full rewards. And because I finished that, might as well make a video on it, even though this is very, very last minute. So what this guy's going to do, it's going to classify and break down the achievements in this season. There's 38 this time instead of 36, so you got a few more to skip around with. I'm going to give some advice on specific achievements, kind of more by general category, but I'll mention certain ones that I think should be mentioned along the way. And hopefully this gives you some new motivation for these last 2 days so that you can wrap up the achievements. And by the way, these are the two characters you're probably going to want to be familiar with if you're going to be getting more of these achievements, which is Hannah and Miss Crom. All right, so here's the types of content. I did it kind of similar to last time. We got the categories of Camo Zone, Towers, Expedition, Co-op, Boss Rush, Arcade, Mirror Rift, Challenges, and others. So a little different from last time. We have Boss Rush as a new mode, and I kind of moved some other ones around into Challenge and Other. But beyond that, it's basically the same thing. I also made this nice comparison from last time. So you can see in order for Season 2, we've got Camo Zone and Towers tied for first, followed by Expedition, then Co-op, Boss Rush, Arcade, and Mirror Tide, Challenge, and Other. And what you notice will be interesting is that last time Camo Zone had 9 achievements. This time we've only got 7, so I actually took some out of there. Towers are the same. Expedition also lost a couple achievements, although I think that's more due to the fact that Boss Rush is now a thing. So I think that probably took those Expedition extra achievements. Co-op now has an extra 2, which is interesting. And then Arcade, Mirror are the same. Challenges about the same. Other about the same. So yeah, here's all the categories though, if you want to look through more specific of what's in which category. I kind of put abbreviations for the titles, but they're what they are. And then I've also classified these into categories. On the next slide, I'll show you in more detail. But we've got the ones that are basically freebies, easy-ish to earn, medium difficulty, hard, brutal, and impossible. And then this other one's just kind of more of a subcategory. I'm not really going to show those in detail, but I'd say about 27 of these are very stat heavy. You need to have a pretty good account to get them. 11 of them you can do without good stats. Skill wise, basically 5 of them are more based on just spending resources or other things. The other 33 definitely take skill, which is kind of to be expected with season achievements. They're basically all skill based. Here's the classification of the way that I personally broke them down. You will know I have one asterisk on the Carmen with a rare hero achievement. That one, if you want to make it hard, it can be hard. I think there's plenty of heroes who make it easy enough, so it might be in the easiest category. But if you have a Ascended Craig or choose to spend the resources, like in my case, I decided to do that because I was just kind of tired at that point, and that was my last achievement to earn. So I just put him in. I ascended him. I didn't give him all of the whatever that new green resources that gives them more abilities because it wasn't really needed. But his defense had to be really high, so I made him ascended and just made the challenge really simple. Everything else, though, this is how I categorize them. You might have some slight differences on them, but I think these are generally decent ways to rank them. We got 2 impossible ones this time. 55,000 stamina, because apparently 40,000 wasn't enough last time for the devs. And then 400 million points on Boss Rush. I really don't think those two are doable. We'll get more details on the Boss Rush one later. But yeah, anyways, this is some kind of ideas in case you're close to the next category and you want to see which ones are more doable versus not. Just look at this table and figure it out. All right, now a little bit more on this guide. It's going to be different from last time. Last time I did it, I think, with like 2 weeks before the achievements finished. So I thought there was enough time people could kind of get more advice on how to earn a certain reward versus another reward. Like if you want to go for the skin versus the weapon skin versus maybe just the frame, whatever you wanted. This time I have a feeling that wherever you are is basically where you want to be, maybe with going up by 1 echelon. So this is more just to kind of give you some more general ideas so that maybe you can get that motivation to go that last step for that next achievement. So that's what's going to be. I'll cover some sections, give some advice, and then you try to push for whatever you can. And then just some general thoughts I had about this season versus last season. I actually thought it was a lot easier to get the trophy, which is the second to last achievement. That's the 2,500 point achievement. Because last time I had to put a lot of dedication in to even get to that point. This time, for whatever reason, I actually got that without too much trouble. I had put in some time for sure. Some of the achievements were a little obnoxious, but I didn't really feel dead by the time I got there. Of course, that might also be due to the fact that I did not pick a impossible achievement like last time with um, the rare hero expedition challenge. That one took me over 30 hours by itself. That was a bad choice. This time there were none of those that I did that way before I got the trophy, so maybe that's the reason. But either way, I thought it was less bad to get the trophy. Um, but it was rough to do some of the other stuff. Getting the last frame, I almost gave up on personally. But I ended up earning a few more achievements than I intended to, and then I decided I could do the rest of the way. This one, I also thought it was nicer that they had more rooms for error. There were 4 challenges you could skip this time instead of 2. And yes, that is intentional. I say 4 and 2 because the last stamina one, nobody's getting on either achievement. Like, it's not happening. The 40,000, the 55,000, it's not a thing. So last time there were 2 options to pick from. This time there are 4, so it's double the amount. And yeah, I think these challenges took less time for me than last time. Some of them were definitely very rough still. They're not necessarily easier overall, but like less time consuming, so I thought it felt better. And then just a fun fact, if you want to know what this season cost me, I hadn't really spent all that much extra from what I would normally do on the game. And I don't mean money because I only do the $4 monthly package. But as far as I tend to hoard resources. I hoard hero crystals, mileage, green hammers, all that stuff. I very rarely spend them. But in this case, after I got the trophy, I wanted to get to the last deluxe frame. I ended up spending 4,200 hero crystals, so that's 7 heroes upgraded to maximum. 6 3 stars, and then 1 ascended hero being Craig. 300 mileage, getting Crom's EX, definitely a need to for my case. And then 1 green hammer that went towards Garam's bow to give him that EX so I could push the last Balak achievement to get the 550k score. Anyways, there goes a year and a half of my hero crystals being stockpiled, but it'll help. It'll make my raid teams a little bit better. I have some new heroes I can play around with, so overall, I'm okay with it, but it's a little sad to see all those hero crystals in the drain. All right, going by categories, we're going to go from big to small. Camazone, I'm assuming at this point, you guys have probably already done this, so I'm not going to cover this too much. It's the same as last time. They pulled out the coin achievements, but besides that, curses aren't that big of a deal. They actually almost help because you get the attack bonus with the penance benefit. I do think last season was a little easier to earn some of these achievements. The one with the plant and where you could get all the allies in your team to just hugely boost your attack. That one was not that hard in my mind, so I kind of think that one was a little bit easier in a sense. This time I did it on the money-based season, and I know the current one is like the HP's attack one. That one actually might be easier, but I'm not sure because I didn't do that one for it. But overall, it's not too bad. Hopefully, if you are able to do this, you've already done it. It's the same as last time. And once again, get Hannah. Hannah makes life so much easier because she tanks everything. She survives for a good solid 6 seconds, during which time hopefully you have had enough DPS based on the season to kill all the enemies. But yeah, get good luck RNG, and if heroes die, exit the stage, re-enter it, and do it again because the RNG is a big push here. But yeah, this one can be done if you put a few good hours into it if you haven't done it yet. Towers. Towers were a lot harder this time actually compared to last time. Because this time, instead of doing it with just 1 hero, it was do it without getting hit, which we all love those achievements. They're really annoying, actually. The Water Tower of Horizon, though, wasn't that bad in my mind. I do have a maxed out Orca with her EX weapon maxed out, so it wasn't too much trouble for me. The slime boss I just killed really fast. It took me a few runs, but they were all short and easy, so like once it was done, it was done. The floor 45 boss, another story. But you practice it enough, you can eventually figure it out. It's the same as last time, just you have to use water heroes. Tower of Horizon for basic. 50 wasn't too bad. I did it with Future Knight. No limit breaks on the EX weapon. Not too bad at all. Took a few practice runs, but I got through it. Floor 40 is pretty bad. It's actually pretty difficult. I tried to do it with FK. I got really close a lot of times, but it was really annoying because it was such a long process to get to that endpoint and then just to lose. FK though does have a nice bonus in that they have the one hit invulnerability. That I haven't personally tested this, but what I've heard is that it doesn't count against the no hit run. So that's one bonus of FK, especially when Marina does the one where she throws the anchor and goes across the stage when she's at low health and shoots a bunch of waves in the process. Um, Sometimes you just get by one of those stray ones, so with the FK ability, it's nice. But for me, I did it with Miss Crom, who you have to get anyways if you want to go for everything, because Miss Crom is needed for the expedition stuff. And with her, she's a lot better at crowd control. So when I took out all of the enemies that, as long as they're around, Marina has her shield up, it made it go by a lot faster to where I just had to survive less cycles. Yes, I didn't have the free shield, but less cycles meant less time to get hit, and I beat it in only 2 tries actually with Miss Crom. But that is with after a lot of practice with FK. And then for the character specific stages, the MK99 one actually wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be worse than it was, but because I don't play MK like ever, but I was able to do it. I looked at a guide, saw it, did it. Took a while, but it was doable. Andrus, same thing, definitely doable. A little bit tough, but quite possible. And give her, I think Kamel's weapon works fine. And then finally, Lapis. That was a challenge. And the funny thing is, my Lapis is actually maxed out with her weapon too. And even for that, I still had a hard time. Um, the main problem is the towers that keep throwing orbs at you, so you can never stand still. If you ever do, you're dead. And then if you ever just get cornered and get hit by one thing, you're also dead. So pretty much you have to go almost hitless. I think you can survive like maybe one big hit. Um, with all these, by the way, a nice little cheese for Anderson Lapis specifically. Throw on one of the um, relics that gives you HP heal every 10 seconds or whatever it is. And then at the end of each segment, leave one enemy alive that's easy to dodge, and then just basically waste time until you heal to full, and then kill it, and move to the next section. It makes it a little easier, but still, even with that, Lapis is very tough. Don't do it unless you have to, but it can be done. Better stats will make it easier. Expedition. Um, First off, thank goodness that rare hero achievement is not here this time. That almost killed me last time, but it's gone. For the Mystic Resistance achievements, you do need Miss Crom. I have not seen anybody do it without Miss Crom, and she really does make a difference. Some people I've seen do it with Sohi's EX. I did not have high enough DPS and I got nowhere close with it, so I wouldn't recommend that personally, but you might try it if you want. I had a mileage for EX, I didn't have it. That was my 300 mileage I had to spend this time. But her special ability, basically to have a second weapon and get the options from it, is really nice because there's this one rifle that has a 30% crit chance that will apply to her main weapon. So basically, she can one or two shot most of the little enemies, and that's her big strong suit. Also, she's really nice for all the stages in the second area of Expedition. But yeah, without her not doing it, with her, it's still rough. I had to actually upgrade a few other heroes too, including, in my case, I used Nari and Idol Captain, Idol Captain Eva. Um, you might be able to do it with different teams, but that's the main teams I saw in the guides I was looking up, and I didn't have them maxed out, so I just had to use the resources, bite the bullet there. But with them and with Miss Crom, I was able to do it. It did not take me nearly as long as some of the ones last season. I'd still say it probably took me somewhere between 5 and 10 hours to beat it. So this is the one I would say if you're close but not quite there. If you don't have the time, please do not waste your resources, because I know for me I would have been really mad if I had spent the resources and then hadn't actually earned the achievements I was aiming for. So this one, unless you have a solid at least 10 hours to put towards it, don't spend the resources. But if you do, or you have like that training room open, try it out. Miss Crom with her EX can do this, but it will be quite a process. So best of luck on that one. And then the 2 boss levels are actually surprisingly reasonable. I did the Balak one. You still need some really high stats on particularly Garam and Orca, is what I saw, and I actually luckily had those 2 basically maxed out. My Orca already had a max weapon. Garam's was one off, so I just added 1 green hammer, and there you go. So not too bad, but it takes a bit of practice. The Arachne one, I've seen guys that make it look very doable. Like they do it even with a huge debuff against them. I wasn't able to do that personally, but I also didn't put all the time into it because I decided the Balak one was easier and that was all I needed to finish. But yeah, if you wanted to go for these two, I think they're quite reasonable. They can be done. Just look up guides. Also, these taught me some things about the game, particularly the Balak fight. Apparently, certain debuffs against bosses stack and multiply instead of just adding. So you have to have like the nice team with the right setups. As I've said, I don't do raids that seriously. I play with a good team and the highest DPS I can, but I haven't really looked into the details of how all that damage is calculated. So apparently there's a method to the madness. So feel free to look up guides for that. But these two can be done if you want to try. Co-op, the same two from last time reappeared, plus two new ones. I'm getting A rank in the co-op defense. It's pretty trivial. Like if you're able to beat co-op defense on the highest setting, other than the new setting, um, most runs tend to be A's anyways. At least for me, that's what my experience has been, and so I think that was not too bad. Getting the 3 awards at once is harder, especially with random people. If you have a team that you can get to help you, it's a lot easier, but it is still doable. Claude is in my belief, I think is the easiest one to do it with because he has high DPS, he has high heal, and then just take a little bit of damage and you've got it. It's not quite that simple, but that's the idea. The 2 champion difficulties, the new settings. You literally cannot do this without a team setup. You have to set up a room. You cannot just join with randoms. And if you do it with just like random people in general, it's not going to end well. Pretty much, you need a really well working together team and or some really strong players helping. Luckily, there's actually a lot of really cool people who I learned about. Like you'd be surprised how willing people are just to help out if you just reach out. So I went on the House of Thorns Discord server and I asked people to help, and people helped me. So like I got these achievements without much trouble. There was some people who like legitimately were doing more damage than all the other team members combined. But anyways, it's totally doable. Just you need to reach out to people. And unfortunately, at this point though, I can't remember which one our current season is in right now this week. But whichever one it is, you can only do one of the two. So it is unfortunate, but you will not be able to do both sets. But you might be able to pull off one of these if you reach out and get some help. Boss Rush. I'm not even going to bother to put a picture here because I have nothing to say. I will say the 300 million and 350 million are doable. Not reasonable at all. Not even close. I just skip these altogether. But I've seen people who do it. Pretty much if you want to beat the 300 million or 350 million, you need to be able to beat the level 90 bosses with all 3 teams that you use. If you can get those 2. 400 million, though, it's basically not going to happen. And any of the other 2 are very hard. So, my personal opinion, these are on the skip category. But if you're good at raid, try your luck. But I have no tips for you on this one. Arcade. Once again, very rough, but it can be done. And okay, this is a nice one because it does not require any stats. Like anybody can achieve this. It's just very tough. The 120k actually isn't that bad, so you can get the first 2 pretty well. I think the 120k comes somewhere between the second and the third boss. It's not that bad. The 160k, you need to beat the third boss and get to the 4th boss and be that boss to earn it. And the big hard part is the transition from the third boss to the next stage segment, because it has a lot of a really quick turnaround jumps, or you have to jump on the very, very edge of the last platform. It's really tough. And the problem here is that it takes so long to get there that when you lose, you get kind of mad and kind of want to rage quit. To me, this kind of happened. So eventually I came to the point where I was just going to do something like 3 or 4 runs a day and keep doing it because I knew if I just kept trying, I would get really mad and play worse. Eventually I did beat it. It is doable, but don't drain your sanity trying for the 160k. Just go for the 120k unless you really need the extra 100 points. Yeah. I have more advice. Read the details here if you want it. Oh, I guess one more thing I'll just say real quick before I switch the slide. The boss is actually not that bad. Yes, it's hard to kill it quickly, but there's no penalty for taking a long time. Just play it safe. Don't do anything risky, because if you do stuff that's risky, you're going to die and then be mad that you lost. So the boss, just take your time. You'll eventually kill it. Do safe moves, and that's it. All right, Mirror Rift. This is actually easier than I thought it was. Last time I thought these were pretty rough, but that's because I didn't use Kumail. He has good survivability and good DPS. Although I did need to put his weapon in the training room to get some of these. The Water Rift is free. you have the extra element advantage. The other two are not that bad. I did beat Dark Rift with Lapis, actually. Funny enough. It was a very close call, though. I had very little health left, and I think I beat it with like half a second to spare. But it can be done with other heroes, just for the record. But no, Kumail's the way. Just do it with Kumail. All right, challenge levels. The one with Carmen actually is free if you have an Ascended Craig. He heals so much and takes so little damage that you just can't die. It might take you 20 minutes to beat the stage, but like you can't die. So it's a free one. If you don't ascend Craig, it takes a little more work. You have to kind of dodge a little better. I think just a regular Craig can do it, but you have to actually stop the one big attack with the blue hearts coming in the middle. But yeah, this is doable. Look up a guide. It's doable. Silent Night. It's painful. I'm not gonna lie. I actually found it a little bit less painful than some of the other ones. I actually was able to do it. It took me less time than the Icy Risk 160k one, but it takes a while. A lot of people didn't like this back in the day when it first came out, and even beating it without dying, let alone with no damage. But yeah, you can do it if you can reach the midpoint boss and beat it without taking damage consistently. That's where I got to. I guarantee you can make it the rest of the way. You just need a little bit of luck and patience on your side. If you can't make it to that point, you might not be able to make it. So the biggest advice: learn how to dodge skillfully. Basically, don't dodge unless you really need it. And if you do really need it, then find the rhythm to use it. So like for me, I basically don't dodge all that much unless I am in a tight spot. But against the midpoint boss, it has two attacks. It has like a straight shot, and then it has a diagonal shot. And basically, whenever I did a diagonal shot, I would just do the dodge, even if I was in a safe spot, just because there was a rhythm where you could do every diagonal shot. So that it made me have to worry a little bit less on the mid boss. On the final boss, there's a little cheese you can hide in the top right corner, top left corner, depending on which way it's facing during most of its phases. It has a couple attacks that you have to move around a little bit, but yeah. All right. Then the others. 10,000 coffee freebie. If you don't have it, I don't know what to say. Either you just unlocked these achievements or you don't log in every day. Either way, then I don't know. But 35,000 coffee, it was rough. I'm not a person who spends coffee on stamina, even though I know most players do. But by doing so, I was able to actually get it done. So this one's doable. But not at this point. Obviously, 2 days left, you're not going to do it. But next time we have another 35,000 coffee one. It could be done if you put enough resources towards it. You just have to accept the fact that you'll have less gems. You'll do less summons, but it can be done. Get Strong on Return this time is actually super easy. I think they told you could do it in like 7 turns or whatever they said the limit was. There's a nice cheese where you can do it in 2 by just tricking the AI into leaving an opening to the boss. And because it was released so long ago, even without extra buffs, you can just kill the boss flat up. So it's super simple. Look up a guide, you can beat it in 2 turns. This is the actual complete freebie one of the season. And by the way, yes, I know this is not the background from Get Strong on Return. It's the one from last season, whatever that one was called. But I'm not going to bother to change the slide because it's what it is at this point. This is a last minute guide. I'm getting this out as fast as I can because I just finished these achievements yesterday. Finally, the impossible one, once again, like last time, the big coffee one, 55,000 coffee. Not happening unless you're literally spending all your gems on coffee. Just don't do it. And it's too late anyways. All right, so for the wrap up at this point, once again, please don't just throw your resources towards things if you don't have the time to invest in it. Especially that Mystic Resistance one, like I said, it took me somewhere between 5 and 10 hours. If you don't have at least that to give, please don't invest in 4 new heroes and then get really mad that you invested in 4 new heroes you don't want when you can't even get the achievement. So unless you have the time and you're that close, just don't do it. But otherwise, other achievements totally doable. Have the confidence for it. Try to aim for it. If you don't get it, it's not the end of the world, but try to see what you can get in these last 2 days. Hopefully this guide helped you. And if you want more advice on any specific challenges, you want my experience on those. Because my account, I do think, is not... I'm definitely not a whale. And since I'm not a raid aimed player, I have a kind of a unique situation to how I approach things. So if you want to hear my experiences in some of these things, more specifics on the challenges, I can provide some advice. Probably too late for me to make new videos at this point, but I can respond to comments in the comment section. So yeah. Anyways, hopefully everybody learned some things here, and good luck earning these achievements. They're tough, but we got a break after this until season 3 comes, and we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, thanks everybody.